Today in my life in prison story, we have Joseph Charles Kenywa, who was in prison for 27 years for a robbery case.
I'm Joseph Charles Kenywa, and I'm born again. I started my primary school way back in 1970, sat for my CPE in 1976. I went to high school Form 1 in 1977 and did my O-level exams in 1980.
And this is how he ended up in prison.
8 years down the line, after hustling for some time, from 1981 to 1988, I remember very well, I found myself falling in the hands of a wrong company. We were 5 of us. We sat at a certain place in Nakuru town. We discussed how we were to go and rob a certain foreigner whom we thought had a lot of money. We discussed the issue for like 30 minutes. And we had a plan, a very evil plan. And the offense was executed in less than 5 minutes. What am I trying to bring up? I'm saying 30 minutes for the discussion of how the attack will be executed, and then 5 minutes. But just allow me to tell you the results of those 35 minutes in very brief terms. The 4 of us were arrested. 1 of us escaped, because as I told you initially, we were 5. We were arraigned before a court of law, and after a trial that took a very, very long time, because this trial took about 3 good years, all of us were found guilty, sentenced to a mandatory death sentence, and my appeal in the High Court took like 6 good years, around 7, between 6 and 7 years, to be heard by the 2 judges bench. When I appealed, my appeal was dismissed. And the judges said that they were just confirming the decision made by the lower court. So it was said that I should proceed on with the sentence that had been meted upon me. I had to appeal to the last court of appeal, which was by then the Kenya Court of Appeal. By then we didn't have the Supreme Court. And so that was the final part in my journey with the judicial avenue. And in that court, regardless of the fact that I was represented by one of the best lawyers then, my appeal did not go through, and again it was dismissed. And so anything to do with the court, I was done. And now what was left after being taken back to prison, I was told that my fate lies in the hands of only one person in the Republic of Kenya, who is the President of the Republic of Kenya. And I was advised, if anything, you can petition him. If peradventure I will hear your petition, he'll make his decision. So I took time, I petitioned the president, and somehow he had my petition. And I can remember very well, and this was after a very, very long time. I can remember very, very well that some part of the petition in the response of the president, some part which still weighs heavily within me, he said that he has commuted the death penalty or the death sentence into life imprisonment. And listen to this part. And he said, that I will have to spend the rest of my natural life in prison. Signed by the head of state. And we all know nobody was above him now. That is the decision that he made. Of course, I felt some kind of relief because now I knew that if anything, I will just have to die a natural death, not being executed. And
after multiple failed attempts of being set free, he was taken to prison to await his fate.
I thank God today because after serving a life sentence for quite a long period, we had the promulgation of the new constitution in the land, the 2010 constitution. And in it we have section, I think it is Article 332, which talks of the POMAC, Power of Mercy Advisory Committee. It is through it that God gave me an opportunity to start my life again, back in prison. Prison life is one of the worst lives and worst experience that one would ever go through. I had never been in crime before. And I had never ever committed any crime before. This was my first time, simply because I fell into the hands of a bad company. And as the Holy Scriptures do tell us, 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33, it clearly tells all of us that do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. We committed this crime.
So they were already in crime themselves?
These guys, I came to realize that one of them was also a first offender.
Oh, okay.
Yes, just one of them. But the other three guys, one that escaped and the other two that we arrested with, those guys had been in prison before. So they were living in crime.
He was 25 years old, married with 2 kids when he was arrested.
Allow me to say that this was way back in 1988. By then, I was around 25 and a half years. I was at that age, 25 years old, 25 and a half years old. I was very young.
Yes.
And even if I was in some kind of, what I would call it today, but I didn't have that idea before. I was in some kind of a relationship, and this come we stay. And God had really blessed us with our firstborn, who was like 2.5 years. My wife was expectant 3 months. Now here, the husband has been arrested. And I can tell you for a fact, we had never saved anything that maybe I would count on that even after my arrest, it could still keep her going. But thank to God that it's only God who can make all the ends meet.
The crime costed him 27 years in prison and the lives of his other friends.
I remember that I was the person who was in charge of the arms by then. And so a pistol was handed over to me. And with it, I had this, which I would call today a false defense kind of. Because I was relying on something that I had never used before, though I was just taught a bit how you can lock it, how you can release the safety catch, and to shoot. It was just as simple as that. So during the ordeal, we went and it was a residence of one of the Asians who came to invest here in the Republic. Yeah, he wasn't a Kenyan. And the moment we entered that house, we had to silence everybody and hope. We just thought that we would get out of that place because this was a very prominent business person. He had the biggest supermarket. I mean, it was some kind of a supermarket by then. And it was quite a big one. And we thought that all the money was at home. But it was just very little money, very, very little money. Listen, 30 minutes discussion, 5 minutes executing the crime. This is what it cost us. 1, the first, the second, and the third accused, all of them died in prison. Number 2, I had to spend all my youth behind the bars for 27 good years. You cannot imagine. And it was a horrible experience anyway. Even words may not be sufficient to express what kind of experience it was. I was young, very young in my youth, and that was during the time when I was supposed to be maybe laying the foundation of my life. I didn't do it. In prison, a lot of hardship, everything is limited, everything, I mean everything. Freedom, you may never know the importance or how the freedom is until when you lose it. But thank God, 35 minutes, 3 people die. They were all married. You cannot imagine how the wives were left as widows. You see those devastating results. I had to spend that time that I've told you in prison. You cannot imagine my wife back at home. She had a child, our firstborn, to take care of. She was expected. In fact, after 6 months, she gave birth to our second-born. That was in 1989, who of course now is our last-born. Now you can see, it was just a very horrible experience. And after whatever that happened, after 4 years in prison, I just made a flashback of my life, looking behind where I had come from, where I was and where I was heading to. And it was then that I decided, I made a decision voluntarily to surrender my life to Christ. It was just as simple as that. And I decided that whatever that happens to me, I will continue hanging on to this word of life and to Christ. Whether things turn out in my favor or not.
He is so grateful that his wife and family never gave up on him.
After those long years that I have told you about, and I thank God because during that long time, we have been in this constant communication with my wife, and she would follow me in whichever prison I was taken to. She would come, she would comfort me, she would encourage me, and she would still tell me that she's still waiting for me. And it was like that gave me a lot of strength, knowing that there is someone who is really with you, not only with you, but for you. That was one of the solace that I ever received from my wife, whom I really express my gratitude to her for having waited for me for all those 27 years. She took care of our children. She did whatever was within her reach to ensure that they went to school. And I thank God today because all of them are learned. And I went into prison being a father of one. I came being a grandfather.
Wow.
The one that I had left being 2.5 years, I came, you can now imagine, add 27 years on top of 2.5 years.
That's almost 30.
That years, this is a grown-up who had already had his family. You see? But I want to thank the Lord for giving me an opportunity to see even my grandchildren. I really want to thank all of them. My dad, may his soul rest in peace. My mom, after my release, they really welcomed me back home very warmly. I would call it ceremoniously. And each one of them has played a particular role even in bringing me back to the right track. And let me say this, I would point out one of them, this Reverend Dr. Johnson Wanjema Mwara. He's my immediate follower. This brother of mine, I don't think, I have one of the best brothers in the world, because this is one who promised, and whatever he promised me, he did it. For example, he told me that, he promised me that he would leave me once I am back on the right track, and he would walk the journey with me. When I was in prison, he's even the one who engaged a lawyer for me. He would frequently visit me, and I want to thank God because right now he's in the US. Washington, in a town called Seattle. May God bless him and his wife Ruth and the entire family, because they have really been a blessing to me. Really blessing, I mean blessing. Because it's like I didn't have to struggle much. I would say that I had the so-called soft landing. And that's why I am the way I am today.
He gives us a take-home advice.
Let me give this message to the young people. And I would tell them exactly what the word of God says. I had said it earlier. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33. It says, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. You are young and you happen to find yourself in a bad company. Believe me, the word of God says that even if you have that good Christian upbringing, this bad company will corrupt your good morals. Just the way it corrupted my good morals, it will still happen to you. Please. How do you get out of the bad company? Let me give you a tip. It is your right, after you discover that you are in a bad company, you have a right to walk out of that company even without giving them any reason for leaving them. They don't own you. Leave that bad company. I wouldn't like any of the young people to spend their life behind bars like I did. And I don't want to say that it is because nobody ever came and talked to me about this kind of life. No, we all know the good morals. Crime is bad, stealing is bad, robbery is bad, burglary is bad. Name them. But that bad company will corrupt one's good morals.
Maybe if someone wanted to get you, how can they reach you?
Yeah, they can reach me through my number.
Please share.
My number is 0707 564 355.
Say it again.
0707 564 355.
Okay. Any closing remarks?
My closing remarks will still revolve around the bad company. Please, bad company corrupts good morals. And this is a direct message to the young people.
We came all the way to Kajiado to get this story for you. You've heard it all. We thank you for finding time to watch our TV, Itugi TV. And nothing more to say, just closing by reminding you to like, comment. If you have any questions, you can share with us on the comment section. And subscribe. Asante sana. Gideon Makomi, your host. And also remember, bad company corrupts good morals. Asante sana.